Hi, I'm Michael Cohen. I'm a Dallas elder and estate planning attorney. I'm joined by my co-host, Don Crawford Jr., who so graciously allowed me to do podcasts with him. He's done radio shows. We've done radio shows together for years. And first of all, happy holidays, happy New Year, Don,
Thank
and
you.
to
Thank
all.
you.
Um, Today's topic is on if you put your home in a revocable living trust, will you lose your property tax exemptions?
And what does revocable mean, just for the audience?
Okay, well, a revocable living trust, which is the most common trust, means you could always revoke it or amend it. And so often people use a revocable living trust to avoid probate, to avoid guardianship. If you're incapacitated, somebody can manage your assets. It's private. So there's lots of different benefits, and it changes from state to state, and the laws are different from state to state. So there's not just one revocable living trust. You could design things in different ways. And in Texas, for example, if we put the homestead into a revocable living trust, one you could always amend or revoke, you still could keep your homestead exemption if you have the proper language. So what's the proper language? I could use and occupy the property without charge and it cost, and exclusively use it with those parameters. If you don't have that language in there, then you don't get the exemptions. And also you have to have some language for creditor protection. So let's say you did a will in California where it's very common, or some other state, or if you use something online, well, the chances are you won't have that Texas language. This is kind of important, very important, because your property tax exemption, usually the homestead's the most valuable asset you have, and property taxes could be very high. Of course, with the law change, if you're a senior now, uh, as you know from the elections that we had in November that was proposed by the legislature, up to $200,000, the first 200,000 on school district taxes are it's not subject to property taxes. And those laws could change again in the future. Remember, it was 40,000 a few years ago. Then it went to
Yeah.
104, then it went to 100,000, then 140,000 if you're not a senior. So the laws have changed, and so that's good news. However, with the influx of population coming to Texas, we think that that the value of homes should continue to grow. And if there's lower taxes that the appraisal districts collect, will they not start looking at your trust to see
Right.
if you have that language? They're looking for tax dollars.
Mhm.
So if you had that out-of-state trust, better look at it twice because they're not going to know Texas law. And if just like I don't know laws in other states, or they're certainly not licensed here. So you have to better be sure and have that is Section 1113J of the Texas uh, tax code. And if you have that language, and you also should have something about, the protection from creditors under the Texas Constitution, or that nothing's changing under the creditor debtor laws, should be in there too, because there had been a Texas court decision in San Antonio, quite frankly, it was a few years ago, that they said you have to have language for both creditor protection. And that law has been codified. So you need to have something in there to say that. So,
Michael, that reinforces what I've learned from all of my buddies who are attorneys, you, my father, and that is that always hire an attorney. Never do this on your own, not LegalZoom, not willandtrust.com or trustandwill.com, whatever it's called. Hire an attorney. I know it may be a little bit more money, but it's worth it because they know the language that has to go in the plan.
yeah, I had a client this week that they didn't know, and they had been, and sometimes I just ask for renewal to say that your homestead's still in existence, that you're still occupying, and if you just don't respond, you're going to lose that homestead exemption.
Right.
So you should look at your mail too.
Mhm.
But yeah, I mean, think about what if you were over 65 and had a homestead, or if you were disabled and you lost those exemptions. Uh, that would be a substantial difference.
Mhm.
And so I'm really concerned because uh, with the value of homes continuing to rise and with the new laws with a higher limit without taxation, that the appraisal districts will start looking for more funds. Now, I'm not saying it's happened yet. I'm not saying it'll happen in your particular county, but I think it uh, could and probably will, or at least be considered by some.
That's really important for people to know. And if they have more questions about this, they should just go to your website, dallaselderlawyer.com, sign up for the next workshop, which I think is in January, right? Do
Yes,
we know
well, we have them every month.
every month? So the next one will be in January. And sign up for that. And you can ask that question and more about what Michael's talking about because it's very important.
Yeah, I do want to mention one more thing before we mention the workshop, and that is if you put your home in a revocable trust and you apply for Medicaid, it would count as a resource.
Hmm.
So for people who need long-term care Medicaid, instead of deeding the property into the trust by just an actual deed, you would do either a transfer on debt deed or a ladybird deed, either one, which says that it goes into the trust after your death. So
Gotcha.
if Medicaid was a consideration, let's say for long-term care, where the government helps pay for the cost of care, then that's something that has to be considered. So we would look to see if the person has long-term care insurance, what their health is, and decide what's the best way if we're doing a trust. Should we put it in? Or sometimes you do that if you're thinking about um, borrowing or refinancing, then often lenders don't like to lend to a trust. So you keep it outside the trust and maybe have it deeded into the trust after death, or you could deed it into the trust after you've gotten your loan. It should not accelerate the note. So, but in answer to your question, yes, any kind of questions that somebody may have, feel free to go to any one of our free estate planning and Medicaid workshops, usually at least once a month. To do that, if you're interested in attending and asking whatever questions you might have on estate planning or elder law, just call 214-720-0102 or sign up online at dallaselderlawyer.com. That's dallaselderlawyer.com. If you do go to the free 2 hour estate planning workshop, we also give you a free vision meeting. So 3 free hours of legal education without any obligation. So,
You can't beat that. It's really great and it's free, as Michael said. And my wife, Sarah, has a transfer upon death deed. I call it a Todd. I don't know if they call it a Todd, but I do. And it makes it really easy to say, and it's one syllable. But she has that to make sure there's no issues, there's no concerns, and she gets the home no matter what. And I'm pretty sure that's the case. Plus, Michael is my attorney. I'm not just a co host. So that really helps too. So Michael ensures that she's covered and I'm covered in case of my passing.
there's and some people it's better to do a Todd, like you say, and some people it's better to do an enhanced life estate deed, which is a lady.
Right.
So everybody's situation is different. In fact, we had an article about the differences between a Todd and enhanced life estate or ladybird deed. And actually, we even have a chart on our website. So look at that website, dallaselderlawyer.com, whether it's just to learn stuff or just to sign up for a free estate planning workshop.
Thank you, Michael.
Thank you.